Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Sipto. I am your tour guide down the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency and wine, Jeremy Cox. And today we've got something very special. I am pairing Barolo with Binance coin. And before we get into the coin, as always, we're going to talk wine. And the thing about Barolo, first and foremost, is that you're really not supposed to be even enjoying a bottle of Barolo unless it's at least 10 years old. Otherwise, it's got these like nickname called Baby Barolo, right? Because you're not getting the full effect of the wine. It needs to kind of mellow out and integrate and age in the bottle. But because I don't have the funds, I'm still not that $30 million heir that I can go out and look for my winery. So I'm also trying to save as many dollars as I can so I can buy Satoshi and get rid of my dirty fiat. And on that note, I bought this wine from Trader Joe's, and I think I might have told you this before, but a good selection of my wines do come from Trader Joe's because my wife's a CPA and she doesn't let me spend too much money on wines, because at the end of the day too, you don't need to spend too much money on wine, and Barolo can break your wallet very quickly if you're not careful. So before we get into the wine also, I'm going to say that I have decanted half of the bottle a little while ago. I also poured a little bit of the wine that I haven't decanted yet into the glass. We'll taste that first and then we'll taste this one. But another little side fact of Barolo, of Italian wine, is this nice little band that's on top of the wines that if you drink Italian wine, you'll notice. There's 3 different designations for Italian wine. You have DOCG, and then you have DOC, and then you have IGT. And very simply, the DOGC is the highest regulations and restrictions to making the wine. It's coming from a certain place. It's higher quality for all intents and purposes. And then the DOC is a little bit less of attention to the wines and not as restrictive on where they're getting the grapes from. And then when you get into IGT, it's just basically a designation that was created so that other Italian wine producers that weren't able to meet the restrictions and the regulations of DOC or DOCG would be able to actually put their wines out. So IGT, low end, but not always like low quality. You'll get some great value wines in IGT. DOC is a little bit higher, and then we have DOCG. You're always going to find Barolo being DOCG because it's coming from Piedmont. It's in northwest Italy, and Piedmont is the place where they grow the Nebbiolo grape, which is how they make Barolo. Am I getting too technical on the wine right now? Hold on. Wait, because this works for wine and for crypto, right? Yes, so Barolo is a very, just go out and seek it, taste it. It's a really, really fun wine, and that's where we're going to end this helmet side, because again, it's not supposed to be all technical and crazy. Wine is supposed to be enjoyable. You're supposed to like drink it. If you like it, awesome. Hopefully it's not a really expensive wine, and you can buy more of it. But so Trader Joe's also made this one of their worthy wines to pair and share. I pulled up this website that here's some other ones they talk about. Incanto Pinot Grigio from Italy. On that note too, this is the first Italian red wine that we're tasting. I did the Pinot Grigio, which was the I'm drawing a blank. I'll think about it in a second. But this one is down here. It is Rosso dell'Olmo. DOCG Italy, and there's a nice little thing if you want to look it up on Trader Joe's website, or you can also go and just search in. It's Rosso dell'Olmo, and here's a closer picture of the label. Rosso dell'Olmo, 2014, from Italy, Italian wine. So if you can see the color, I'll show you the color in a bigger glass in a second, but it's light. It's almost like if you're looking at this wine, there's like an orange tinting to this wine, almost like a rusty, and that will give you the indicator that that this is going to be Nebbiolo, like an Italian Barolo. I can see it really, really well through this, that it's very like rusty. right on the edges. As it gets more into the center of the wine, it's not as rusty as it is kind of like ruby color. So the nose is, a lot of times you'll catch like tar and roses on the nose, and this is definitely showing that. I'm also getting some cinnamon. See, I keep saying some. There's cinnamon. And some good pronounced oak. There's wood on this. So now we're gonna taste it. And there's another way that you can really get your olfactory senses, your nose running, where when you're smelling, if you kind of open your mouth and while you're taking in a whiff, you also just kind of 50-50 nose and mouth. And that brings out a little bit more aromatics. Now I'm catching more of the fruit. I keep saying a little bit. But we're gonna get into a taste of this now. I'm true to a young Barolo. This has got a lot of acid. It's very puckery from the get-go. And sour's not the right word, but it definitely leaves your mouth with a very like acidic aftertaste. The tannins aren't super heavy on this wine, which is another thing that's interesting, because a lot of times Barolos will make you pucker, and you're like, whoa, what, it's like talcum powder, or those old like Looney Tunes where your mouth goes like this and you can't do anything. That's another thing that you catch with Barolo, where you're like, wow, man, your mouth just wants to like suck up. Now, as we get into some of the decanted wine, and again, here's the color, if you can see it. It's definitely not your typical. It's not your typical colors that we've been seeing so far with wines. You would almost, like, if you're looking at this, you would be leaning toward Pinot Noir, because you can see through it. But then when you taste it, you're gonna be like, wait, no, this isn't Pinot. And out of the bigger glass, I'm not catching as much. As I swirl it, though, now I'm catching that tar, a little bit of the cinnamon. I'm also now catching more of the alcohol. This is a 13.5, but it definitely kind of hits your nose and tingles your nose a little bit. But it definitely did benefit from the decanting, not as punchy with its acidity. It's a little bit smoother now. Italian wines are built to go with food. I did a really fun Italy versus California blind wine tasting event a couple years ago, and the way that it worked is we had each course of the dinner had an Italian wine and a California wine in front of the tasters, the guests, and they were able to enjoy the wines before the food came out. They were tasting them, and the room was, almost every single one of them liked California wine before the food came out. After the food came out and they started eating a little bit, and then they were drinking a little bit more of the wines, they went to the Italian wine. So it was a really good example of how Italian, and for the most part, like French wines, European wines are made to go with food. They just have, they're not pop and pour that you catch from California. But yeah, this is good. This is going to be, I'm probably going to enjoy the rest of this while we talk about Binance Coin as we switch over. And oh, real quick, one last thing that I pulled up: most expensive Barolo wine. Another website that you, if you're catching the wine bug, is, I'll give you two actually. Cellar Tracker for wine tasting notes, and to see if you're going to be getting into like more higher end wines, if they're age worthy, or if you want to just like open it up and drink it. But another one for buying wine is called winesearcher.com. And this one, basically you plug in the wine, and if you live in a shipping state, you can have the wine shipped right to your doorstep as long as you're home and you can sign for it. But I pulled up the most expensive Barolo wine, and the number one is the Giacomo Conterno Monfortino Barolo Reserva DOCG. See, all of these are almost all. Oh, there's a couple that aren't. Gaia, which is funny, it doesn't have the DOCG on it. But they're this most expensive wine is average price $1,200. So that's going to set you back. $1,200 is like 12 million Satoshi, something like that. That's a lot of Satoshi, right? So, and then the very next one after that is 444. The Bartolo Marischello artist label. I think I've seen this one a few times in places. Oh, and you can get it from London for $585. So there's Barolo for you in a nutshell. I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about with Barolo. I want to go back to this one really quick though and just kind of taste undecanted. The nose is much more intense in this glass. And I don't know if it could have a lot to do with the glass, because that's another thing. I'm drinking out of, I should be drinking out of the same glass, but this is my last Bordeaux glass that I have left. And so that, wow. They're different wines out of the glasses. It's crazy. All right, so now we're going to move on. Binance coin. Binance is ranked number 6 in the coin market capitalization. It has a market cap of 4,314,659,000 and some change. It is, here's the chart for it. It's only been out since August of 2017. And if we look at the 7-day, it's a pretty, this coin fluctuates. I'm going to move this around a little bit so we can see a little bit better. You know, it moves, and there's some controversy that's happened with Binance, because if you follow the news, Binance Exchange got hacked about maybe 2 months ago for $40 million, and the owner of Binance actually came out and covered all of those losses with it's a fund called SAFU, and it basically is like a insurance policy, an insurance claim, or insurance rider against, I'm stuttering, I'm sorry, against if anything were to happen to Binance. So he put the money back in. He's like, don't worry about it. They were still trying to like figure it out, but there was some interesting conversations that were coming up with the Binance hack, as far as like, without getting where's my thing again, getting too technical, they wanted to back up the ledger and actually go back to like before the hack happened and kind of reverse it. But that goes against everything that Bitcoin stands for and the cryptocurrency market stands for, because that's like, you know, you start playing with that stuff and that starts talking manipulation. So the thing is though, is that Binance Coin is part of the Binance Exchange, and I pulled up, here's the Binance Exchange, and this is the live trading page, if you will, for Bitcoin. And you can see that there's all this stuff here on the left. These are the buy and the sell orders. The buy orders are in the green and the sell orders are in the red. And this shows you this is the hour chart. And in the last hour, Bitcoin's actually got a nice little two green candles that are going in a nice direction. But this is where you go if you want to go into the exchange to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. There's multiple exchanges. My hair, I bet you my hair looks like crap. Gotta put my hat back on. I went to Venice Beach today because it was my mom's birthday, and so I was out in the sun, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll take a shower for this video. But no, it's Sunday. We can just relax on Sundays, right? And it's been a kind of a crazy weekend in the news, so that's another reason that I wanted to, I don't want to say distract myself, but get on here and talk a little bit about this stuff, because everything must go on, and it's really crazy where we are in the world right now. But at the same time, I personally feel like it's that fear that is being manufactured, and we have two choices. We can either like sit there and watch the news all day and be like, oh my God, this is crazy, or we can just kind of move on and definitely not forget or not think about these things and not be aware of the possibility that anything happened. As going to Venice Beach today, I'm like, well, there's going to be a lot of people at Venice Beach, but I really had to put those thoughts out of my mind. I'm getting way off topic right now because we're supposed to be talking about Binance Coin and the exchanges. There's a whole bunch of different exchanges. There's Binance, there's Coinbase Pro. Coinbase itself is like where you would just go to like buy and sell. It's not an exchange. But in Coinbase Pro, you can actually exchange your cryptos. Then you've also got, there's Bitfinex, there's, let's pull it up really quick because I'm drawing a blank right now on the different cryptocurrency exchanges. Currency exchanges. Let's see here. Let's go best cryptocurrency exchanges. The top 10 exchanges would be, they say Coinbase. Then they've got Coin Mama, and then there's Bitpanda. And I just pulled up the first site. So again, going back, this is not financial advice. You need to do your own research, and especially when you're going to get into taking the plunge and start putting your funds on an exchange. Don't listen to me. Definitely click into this and do your stuff. Kraken, that's definitely one that I keep hearing about all the time. Kraken is a good exchange, or popular exchange. I don't want to say good. You got Bitstamp, Gemini, which is the Winklevoss brothers from the Facebook. They were the twins that sued Mark Zuckerberg for basically supposedly stealing their idea. And then Binance and Change.Leads, the Bittrex. There's lots of different exchanges. But the last thing that I'm going to say before I go is that you definitely don't want to leave your money on your cryptocurrency on an exchange. After you have done your trading or your purchases or whatever you're going to do in the exchange, your best interest is to move them off the exchange and into some sort of a cold storage or your own personal wallet, because there's a tagline saying "not your keys, not your crypto." If it's an exchange, you don't have the private keys to that wallet. Those funds are basically being held by the exchange with their keys. So it's not really yours. If something were to happen, if the exchange was going to go down, it's happened multiple times with exchanges where there's some fraudulent activity or some trickery that's going on with them, and then all of a sudden those exchanges cease to exist or they stop all transactions. You don't want to be caught in that. So if I think I told you in the very beginning that when I decided that I was going to get into crypto, I spent a good month just researching and doing my due diligence of like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? I'm going to set my computer up to be basically like a ghost. I have a phone that doesn't even know who I am. I've never touched any social media. It's a phone number that I only use for that, basically just for two-factor authentication. And I hopefully am safe with that, and those all sit in my version of Fort Knox, and I don't take it out of the house. So I think that's about it for today. I'll do a little bit of bonus time to revisit the state of the world and talk just for like a second about my personal thoughts and feelings on these last two very tragic events that have happened in the world of mass shootings. It's nuts. But on that note, I'm gonna do a very somber cheers, and my prayers and my thoughts are with all the family members that are dealing with the tragedies that have happened in the last couple days. And my mind can't even conceptualize and even like touch what would be going on in the victims and the victims' families' heads right now. It's crazy. Ever since Columbine, I've really thought strangely about what happened. So stay tuned for bonus time if you wanna hear my thoughts on it. And until next time, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Crypto Sipto. Go out and buy some Barolo. Start at Trader Joe's, $15.99 by the way, was how much this one was. And then you can work your way up to that $1,200 bottle of Barolo. That's the #1 most expensive Barolo in the world. And cheers, everybody. I'll see you next time. Okay, so I saw, this is going to go way back to the Columbine shootings. When Columbine happened, I literally that day wanted to switch everything that I was doing and go into child psychology, because it's like, how are these kids running around with these weapons and going into a high school and shooting their classmates? Like that's just the craziest thing ever. Like, I had a theory back then that it's like these kids must be living in a video game, and they think that there's a reset button, that they can go do all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, you know what, I died, oh, okay, reset, now I get to start all over again. And you know, that's the only thing that I can think of that would actually make me think that these kids could wake up in the morning and decide that that's what they're going to do. And going back to Columbine, that was planned. These kids were like, it was definitely something that they had thought about for a long time. And then as the years passed, and it was like, you know, that was a huge one. And then it's like all of a sudden these things were happening. And now we get to 2019, where I just heard on the news today that there have been more mass shootings than have been days in the year. And that's like crazy. I think it's like something like 283 or something crazy. There's almost 300 people that have been killed in mass shootings, and senseless lives have been lost. It's just mind-boggling to me. And I wish that I had any fathom of like an answer, like how we would stop this. But one of the things that I've been noticing and really thinking about is the interaction and the attention that we pay to the kids, because the kids this is a different time with technology and the way that they're being raised. And I, working in restaurants, I see it all the time, that it's like families come out and they're, you know, everybody's sitting there talking and eating except for the kids. The kids are on their phones. They're playing video games, or they're watching movies or whatever. And part of me is like, wow, those parents are really responsive, or really considerate of the guests in the restaurant, and they're distracting their kid, right? But the other side of it is, where is the interaction? Like, are the parents raising the kids, or is the technology raising the kids? And I grew up before like cell phones, and before like the internet was a baby. I basically watched the internet like be created, right? And it's where we are today in the things that you can access through the www that could influence influenceable minds. You know, like I just got done watching The Great Hack a couple nights ago, and the idea that Cambridge Analytica and these companies are actually looking for the people that can be persuaded, the persuadables, right? It's like, if we can get to them and we can change their thoughts and their minds on it, and what they want to do, you got to wonder, it's like, are these kids and these young people that are acting out, are they tapping into something and getting a hold of something that, like, basically, for lack of a better word, brainwashes them? And I don't get political at all. Like, this is bonus time, so we're not, you know, it's just me and you talking. And please, you know, feel free to comment, feel free to say whatever you like about what I'm about to say. But I strongly believe that our president is partly responsible, it is more than partly responsible for creating and manufacturing these hate mongers that are going out, and they're just acting out on what they think is like, well, the president says it, then yes, I'm for it, and I hate people that aren't like me, or that supposedly don't belong in this country. That's so like opposite of what this country was founded on. Like everybody has, uh, um, if you go back, what, 7 generations, about seven, maybe eight, 7 to 10 generations, we're all immigrants. We've all come from another country, and that's what America is. It's the land of immigration. I love the idea that I heard a long time ago, that it's like America is the last frontier, and California in particular is literally the very last frontier that you're going to get to. Hold on one second, because we're going to drink some more wine. No, I'm not going to pour this one. The reason that there's so much innovation in California is because Californians are the pioneers. They were the ones, and the explorers, and the ones that were looking for something else. And when you get to California, if you're an explorer, that's it. If you leave the coast of California, you're going to start all the way back over again. You'll eventually get back to the east and to Asia, and then where else are you going to go? Unless you believe the world is flat, and then you'll just fall off, but whatever. So California and the innovation and the stuff, and losing my train of thought a little bit, but it's like, as Americans, we should be better than what we're doing right now. We should be a little bit more loving, a little bit more accepting, try to find the solutions to these problems, instead of just going on television and being like, this is the problem, this is the problem. The wall isn't going to solve anything, right? The immigration laws, all of that stuff, it's my opinion, it's not going to work. It's like, we need something. We need to all work together. We need to all get along. And I know it starts to sound like, schmaltzy or whatever, but it's like, seriously, man, like, this is America. I'm very proud of being an American. I love my country, and I am every day more and more saddened by the stuff that we're seeing on television. It's like, 29 people in less than 15 hours lost their lives to a gunman who was, for whatever reason, just decided that he's just going to go out and take people's lives. That's stupid, right? So that's it. If you've stuck around for this long, I don't know how long this has been going on for, but I appreciate it. Please, this one in particular, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about all of this. I feel like it's better if we get it off our chest. I feel like that's why I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this, because I don't know how to feel. Like, this word too that keeps coming up is desensitized. Like, we're all getting getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's like, we're all being desensitized by all of this stuff. It's like, what's it going to take for us to like wake up and be like, we definitely need to fix it? In your comments below, what do you think? What are your ideas for fixing it? All right. Until next time, everybody, thank you for the bonus time. This is Jeremy Cox, aka Crypto Sipto, saying, I love all of you. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone else, or anyone else is better than me. We're all human beings, right? So, cheers.